What's going on, y'all? So, I'm not finna make this long. You guys have been hearing what's been going on in this atmosphere, in this climate. Alright? I feel like this stuff is like supposed to happen. Right? I don't know. I just feel like things are meant to get worse. In general, all right. Obviously, other places will get worse quicker. Will become more detrimental than other locations. But it's like I'm just seeing more and more negative. It's by the day at this point. It's by the day. And it's detrimental and negative because I was looking yesterday. America, this really listen to understand how crazy this is. America is either the number one country in the world, if not top 3 country in the highest average household income. And it's not high. It's at $5,600 a month. Right? It's about 70K a year. That's the average. And it outweighs majority of the world, if not the entire other part of the world, right? And legislation, government, Senate, right? All these hands, right? Or majority, enough people, groups, hedge funds, corporations, everybody who's probably a shell of a shell and has some sort of tie to tie or sitting in the 1%, right? Or the 1% of the 1%, right? They're passing this bill to further increase this divide that's happening here in this country. And it's almost laughable because writing has just been on the wall for years. There's just been signs. Post-COVID kind of skewed a lot of things. The president being who he is, right? The government being who they are, and the people being who we are, as far as believing in democracy, believing in autonomy with voting. People are like, man, you should go out and vote. I'm like, for what? I don't believe in this system. And I can't keep telling people I don't believe in this system if I continue to live in this system. I've been saying this for years. I'm like, vote on what? Now, people will be like on the, playing a little devil advocacy. They'd be like, well, if 1 million more people or 10 million, they want to throw out these stats, 10 million more people like you actually voted, things would change. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. There's someone behind the camera, there's someone behind the back door, the curtain, right? Who are paying people. People don't really, I don't know why people are not getting it yet. It's about money. It's about connections. It's not about our democratic voice. There's no such thing. Everything has been masked, right? Okay, we have July 4th coming up, right? We have the Independence Day, and right, we were celebrating, or some people were celebrating Juneteenth with the abolishment of slavery and things of that nature. And it's like, dude, there's modern day exemplifications on what has happened in the past. It's just, to have 10 to 12 million people homeless, 40 to 50 million people poor. This is in counting. This will continue to increase based on not just this law passing, or this package of laws passing, but what's going to happen, what's to happen in the future. You know, there's a lot going on that before indirectly, you know, affected people in households, but now it's more directly affecting people. It's going like overnight shipping, like FedEx overnight, or Amazon Prime, like we'll get it to you tomorrow. Like that's how things are affecting us nowadays. You know, and it goes in line to it, like everything is starting to click, right? How prices have increased, you know, astronomically. Interest rates are still high. You know, my mind is kind of everywhere. You know, AI happening to where people are getting laid off from work. I mean, all this stuff is like happening, right? You have, you know, you have the presidential campaign, or presidency, right? This executive order, you know, honing in onto deporting people with slight offenses who I believe have citizenship, but who's not born in this country. Like there's a lot of things being heightened, and it's like there's a mold. There's really there's a mold forming. Like you gotta have all these variables checked, and you know, by demographics, right? That's you know, you're focusing on different ethnic groups at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like everything has to be checked for you to mitigate how things are going just in today's time. And this has nothing to do with food, you know, diet, FDA, PETA, you know, day-to-day security, safety. This has nothing to do with all that stuff, right? Religion. This has nothing to do with, you know, desensitization to the entertainment world that sprung upon, you know, young children in here. Like this has nothing to do with this is like, it's so separate. There's so many other things that's just destroying us daily. It has nothing to do, like this is just, you know, like it's so much, right? So let me hone in a bit more, right? You know, you got this bill going on, and I've been saying this, and I've been talking about this for months at this point with my very small circle. That is the 4 or 5 people I can count on one hand, right? It's, you know, if the boxes aren't being checked at your end, or if you're not developing a mind to, it's not even about elevating anymore, right? It's not even about, you know, getting your finances in check. It's past that at this point, right? It's understanding that, you know, that your neighbor who has all the whereabout, the will to progress, and they can't for whatever reason, right? There's a lot of people who and I believe it, other people may not, who are born with deficiencies, who are born with a deficit to get them to where people, others, groups, the world, society would say they should be at, whether it's by a certain age, if you're a certain demographic, right? I don't know. Like, so, you know, for whatever the case is, there are people who are behind the 8 ball, right? Depending on, you know, what behind the 8 ball looks like. For others, you know, looking at a scale of a certain population, you know, group or environment, you know, so it's like things like, it's like by nature, it's venereal, it's epidemic, like it's just happening where, you know, now you get this bill passed, like it has to make sense. Like, you get to the point to where you look at it and say, what's, you know, this guy honking. I'm sorry, this guy over here. He's just sitting on the horn. What's wrong with these people? Where are they? I don't understand. We were at a red light. It's like, I don't get it. The dude's just sitting on the horn. People are crazy. These people are crazy, man. Anyway, I'm sorry. It's just that's just distracting. These people are just my bad. Anyway, this bill is supposed to let me just get to the point. It's supposed to help credit upper class wealthy individuals, give them tax breaks. You know, it talks about not taxing tips. So I guess if you put your tips on your tax report, for discretionary earnings, I guess, like, it's supposed to help with just tax breaks overall, but if that's not a benefit towards you, which depending on your life, what you do for work, your environment, your zip code, if that has nothing to do with you, and you're on the other end, you're the most you're the most offended individual or affected individual in this with this whole thing passing, right? And if it doesn't pass, 100%, like, it's still gonna happen. Like, I'm telling y'all, like I said this a week or two ago, like, in the next 10 years, more people are gonna be homeless. Why? Because in the next 10 years, right, Social Security is gonna get cut. Why? Because in the next 10 years, like, you got people who's gonna be uninsured by Medicaid, right? There's people who can barely live in that retirement age off of Medicare, but you're gonna have Medicaid. Medicaid is what's gonna affect the continued working class, or the unretirement age class, right? The millennials, the Gen Zs, right? Obviously, some of the Gen X's or baby boomers, right, who haven't hit that age just yet of retirement, like, who can't apply for Medicare, right? Medicaid. People are going to become, it said 12 million people will become uninsured. 12 million people will become uninsured. And then you have 15 million people will stop receiving food or SNAP benefits. So, food and SNAP, if you have had those benefits, or you've been a person, or you know people who had it, right? That's dry food for kids, for babies, toddlers. That's meals for families. That's buying. That affects your day-to-day diet, right? You or your family's day-to-day diet, and then health, right? So you're just because of where someone is at in their life currently, whether it's by choice or by the car they were given, I'll leave that up to you guys on how that has come to be. But 12 to 15 million people, and that could be two separate groups, if I'm not mistaken. That could be 12 people are uninsured. 12 million people will become uninsured in the next 9 years, and then within the next 9 years, another group of 15 million people will lose benefits. Absurd, right? Imagine a mom or a single father or a family, right, who has 3, 4, 5 kids, something extensive, right? They're just getting by, they're trying to land that job or whatever, and they are under the threshold of the average household income, or their Section 8 living, but they're hoping to get out of that hole. So they got Medicaid, and they're relying on SNAP, WIC, EBT. And before the child turns 10, 12, 13, it's going to be gone. Like, so what is going to happen to that family? Well, they're going to be plummeting down further under that threshold, and it's going to just knock them off the course, right? These are the people that's going to be teetering homelessness and living and or co-living with others. You're not buying a house. You can't rent a house or a home or property, right? You can't really stay afloat on your own. You're either relying on somebody else or the government. Like, it's millions, man. I'm telling you. And this is older people. This is younger people. It's affecting the entire map. I've been feeling this anxiety, this sort of inner duress, this feeling of, how do I not progress, but how do I aggressively, right, beat inflation? How do I aggressively bring autonomy back into my life, where I'm not worrying or dependent on a week-to-week or bi-weekly check? That's been my mind going into this year, aggressively, horribly, right? How do I maneuver? How do I continue to just go up while I'm in this type of economy and society? Like, how do I continue to break barriers? Because I felt writing on the wall. Like, you feel it. Like, like when you're in like a sauna, or like you're around the corner, like say like a house is burning, a building is burning, and like you can feel the flame when you're a quarter mile, I don't know, 800, 1,000 feet away from the fire, but you can feel it. That's just how I feel things. It's like I feel that energy about life, at least here. And it's like, if I don't put my best foot forward and figure this shit out, I'm gonna be affected negatively here. Like, that's always been my mindset. But I don't know, it's just like this last year or so, really, like the last 6 to 12 months, man, it's insane. I feel like I'm just repeating myself. This is wild, this is crazy, it's insane, because it is, man. It is. Like, it's forcing me to make the decision I made. And luckily, I have my spouse, or my wife, partner in crime, who can feel it, see it too, agree with the sentiments I'm not saying, but what the world is just throwing at us at this point. Like, it's everywhere. Like, right? The blinders are off. It's everywhere. It's waxing worse and worse. I'm telling you, I see it already. I see more YouTube videos. I see more TikTok. I see more news stations. I'm going to see more Facebook posts. People are going to be sharing more things to me. And it's like, dang, look at what's going on here. I'm telling you, man, it's just getting crazy. So I really hope, I hope you guys are figuring shit out. You can't get complacent on your job and think this is what you like, this is it. There's no security, right? There's no sense of rationale with people in different parts of your life. There's not. I even seen where it said, if there's this, starting 2028, which is barely 2 years away, or barely 3 years away, states are going to have to start picking up the funding for federal states are gonna have to start picking up. So from the local or from a region standpoint, are gonna have to start picking up federal funding, some of the bill for federal funding in 2028. If there's a 6% error on I believe it's SNAP-based payments, right? So, benefits from a low-income threshold standpoint. Like, I think from there, if there's a 6% error in overpayments or underpayments, if I'm not mistaken, that state will have to pick up the funding from then on, or at the end, the start of the year, where I don't know, wherever that financial, right, the government, the state's government is its fiscal year starts or ends. But that what is that going to do? It's gonna, sales taxes, right, is gonna start rising. Like, things it's gonna just start pulling from lower to get to the pocket of the residents, of people in that state, because that will happen. Overpayments, that stuff happens all the time. There's millions, tens and tens of millions of people who are on, who are using, government-based benefits, and a lot of that stuff, a lot of those financial errors happen. In the post I was reading, Alaska's at a 25% error. So what's gonna happen with them? They're gonna pick up that a percentage of the government billing and say, hey, since you're screwing around with the funds, or your budget of the funds, you're gonna have to pay up some of this bill, right? It's like, the higher ups are just moving money around. And when you're in trillions of dollars in debt, well, you gotta take away money from the people. That's just how it works. Taxes, right? Stuff is just gonna get it's just keep swallowing up slowly but surely. Hope y'all just keep reading Writing the Wall and looking for, some sort of exit strategy. I mean, really. Oh no. See what happens, man.